What's up, everybody, and welcome back to yet another video on the Chad Daybell trial. And today we're going to dig in primarily to the phone call between Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow. As you know, one of the most damning pieces of evidence is always the defendant's own words. And we're going to break down this phone call, remembering what the state is trying to prove in this case. Not necessarily that Chad Daybell was holding the weapon that did the deed, but instead he was part and maybe even the leader of this conspiracy. So we're going to see through a lot of the arguments. We're going to listen to this conversation, see what we can learn, and see what we think the jury is going to be reacting to and feeling after they listen to this phone call. So thanks for being with me. Hit that like button if you guys have not already. We may get into some other parts of the trial a little later in the video as well, but I really want to focus on first listening to this phone call, seeing what we can find out, seeing if we can decipher the codes that Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell are talking about, and even what is a plausible or possible code that the jury could go back there and discuss with each other. Like, is this what they meant? They couldn't possibly have meant this. They couldn't possibly be this cold in discussing what happened to Lori's children or metaphors used or things like that in this conversation.
Kind of the best example of that.
Right.
Yeah, it starts small, but grows exponentially. Yes. Will, and they're doing all they can to destroy one of the key families, but they're not going to.
They're doing all they can to destroy one of the key families, but they're not going to. Again, key families, and we're trying to group, if we're the state, we're trying to group Chad, Lori, and Alex Cox together, among others potentially named and unnamed co-conspirators, and they're grouping themselves together as one of the main key families.
I mean, there's so much that I know. I was sitting here thinking about that. I know too much.
Yes.
I can't deny it. I know it's just a matter of time. I just don't know what that time is.
So I texted Ray. He responded pretty quick.
Detective, I'm going to pause it there. Did you hear Mr. Day?
Ray is Alex Cox. We're going to skip through some of their questions. They focus on who's asking who for advice, who seems like the leader, who seems like they know the plan, who seems like they made the plan, who seems like they're asking for confirmation of the plan from who.
Of Ray.
So Lamar, June 8th, deceased.
Detective, through your investigation,
And speak with people on the other side of the veil.
start playing at 7:34 in effect.
Days.
Yes. But he was asking what we talked about. He's very optimistic.
It was very optimistic for you, or he's very optimistic it could happen.
He's very optimistic for both of us.
He doesn't know his own project timeline.
He said, stick with it. To what he projected in that paper he wrote.
Again, they're talking about projects and timelines and working with Alex Cox and when is it going to get done and how can we speed it up? The three of them talking together. Again, this is why this is such key evidence. Does it say, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z to the kids? No, we don't have that in this case. It's not that kind of case. But what we do have is very clearly these three people working together for the same result. And in order to bring that result about, they needed these crimes to occur. They wanted these crimes to occur. That's what the prosecution is going to argue.
You know, house renovations always take longer than they think.
That's the problem.
I've been watching that Extreme Pools, and the people are like 3 months out. Like,
I mean,
when they estimated they'd have it done, and they're like, we have so many problems. We couldn't get to the backyard. We had to pull a crane over the house to get these huge rocks for the waterfall.
So again, is this code? Are these metaphors? Or are they actually talking about construction on houses?
I can remember last summer, Taylor Hill, Mark's friend, parents moved into a trailer, like a camping trailer in their driveway because they were going to build their house by the end of the year. Guess where they're still at?
Really?
They sold their house to their son. It's just a weird situation, but you're exactly right. Yeah, it takes forever.
Yeah, there's always something that comes up. But we didn't know when we dug in your backyard, we were going to find whatever. And then they're like, we have to redo it.
And again, they didn't know when they dug in your backyard, they would find whatever. Is that just a Freudian slip? Or are they actually talking about building a house? We know they were looking at land. We know they were discussing things like this with David Warwick, which he's a general contractor. So, you know, what's the jury going to think when they hear this?
All the piping, and then we had trouble with this, and then something else happened. So, but they try to make it sound like it wasn't really that long, but it's always like gonna take 3 months. And then 3 months after that, they're like, okay, it took 6 months. You couldn't come in your backyard at all. And now it's not summer anymore. Now it's winter and your pool is finally done.
Right.
Mostly they do it in Florida, places like that. But.
Yeah.
So he's optimistic about his construction
Problems.
not problems, but plan. His
Yeah.
construction plan, the blueprints are still intact.
Yes.
They're tiny.
And I kind of just said, I texted him what you just said is, you guys are always a little off.
Right, exactly. We just want a real estimate.
Right.
What do you
Mhm.
say?
He just laughed. Did a
So
low-
he did not confirm nor deny that fact. That contractors are always
No,
later than they think they're gonna be.
He's like, it'll work out, how he is. He did want me to say he misses you. But he's not far from, contact. We can talk, we can text him whenever he wants.
Yeah, I can't text anybody. Have text.
It
You
was,
have to text for me. That's like me telling you, I need you to tell this person, talk to this person.
I'll text him back. But he's optimistic. I want to go visit him and grab him by the throat and say, really?
Can he? I know he's optimistic, but can he just make us any guarantees? I mean, we did make our down payments and everything else.
Guarantee.
It was like a guarantee, just an end date of our project.
Well, he knows you pretty well. So he just laughs. No, I asked him what he thought of the video project. He said it was really nice. He loved it.
Oh, good.
Detective, through your investigation, were you aware of any type of video put out about Alex Cox around this time?
Not around June 8th, but shortly after Alex Cox died, his sister Summer Shiflett made a YouTube video with clips of Alex photos throughout his life and put it to music. And so we viewed that early on in the investigation, but that's what is being referred to here.
Judge, I'm going to object. That calls for speculation. He can't speculate is what it calls for.
Untimely, overruled.
And Judge,
I do agree with that objection. By the way, he is speculating, but again, what's the jury going to think when they listen to all this?
I had stopped playing at 12:13. I'm going to recommence playing at 12:13.
You may.
Yeah, well, that's good. Although I'd never heard that song before. I don't know what that is. Maybe it's just something on like iMovie or something. That's on your phone.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like one of the backgrounds that you can
Sure,
use
she
or
makes
something.
out just a happy one. Yeah.
I don't know, because I've never even heard that one, or I've never seen the app, but I know people can do that. iMovie, it was always on my iPhone. I just didn't ever click on it.
Yeah. But
So,
frustratingly optimistic, I guess. Is
so frustrating for us.
Yeah,
We're gonna be
that's what I mean.
completed. Thanks for completing your project on time. Will they get a bonus? They do it.
Oh yeah, we'll give him a bonus. It was good. It was good to talk. I hadn't texted him in a while. So
So he would still answer all my questions in the same way, you think, if I texted him?
I think you ought to write down some questions for him and maybe even mail them off and see what happens. See if he'll respond to you. I have no doubt. Don't forget President Holland's talk. That snippet. He seemed like he wants to text you if he could. Yeah, it's all true. That's all I can say. They haven't forgotten.
I know they want to work on our project and they're not too happy and thinking, that's how I spelled it out. Oh, just like, I'm busy.
Well, the truth
I'm
is
good.
that.
It's good. It's good. You know what I'm saying?
The jolly and happy-go-lucky and joking nature of them obviously is coming across in these recordings as well in front of the jury.
But he's still very interested. He hasn't forgotten about us.
I know he has other projects, so I don't know how much time that takes. but
He's involved in this latest batch.
Well, remind him when you do text him back that at the beginning of this project, you said there was only like a 3% chance that there would be trouble from certain aspects. And that seems like 100% trouble because that's where it all started.
Feels like they're speaking metaphorically.
Uh-huh.
So find out about that.
Right.
See what he has to say for himself on that issue. And you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I do.
Recall what I'm talking about?
Oh, I know exactly. What you're talking about.
Okay.
Judge, I'm going to stop at 1635. Detective, who is asking who to obtain information in that that we just heard?
Lori was asking Chad for information.
Your Honor, I'm going to continue playing at 1635.
So I want to know why that is 100% instead of 3% chance of having a problem.
I think he was somewhat right in that. The other aspect was other people. It was a combination.
I know it was a combination. I was saying there were other problems of the location, but what I'm saying is that it's a combination of only, 5 problems.
I agree.
That was a big one.
It was a big one. Uh-huh.
So my faith in those kinds of guarantees are lower.
Me too.
And beggars can't be choosers. I get that, but you know what I'm saying.
Mhm.
It's not like I get to pick the colors of everything that I want. Who's just going to have to figure it out.
Right.
Since I'm here and I can't be in charge of the project. So
Mhm. Yeah. and I've thought back on that entire scenario.
we went over the plan and the blueprint,
Mm-hmm.
and
And yeah, he said that wouldn't be a problem.
right.
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
Oh.
Why was that?
It really was.
Right.
No, I don't doubt that. It's just strange how it blossomed. So
So go ahead.
you go ahead.
No, I'm just gonna say so. You think it was meant to have complications and
Again, she's asking him for advice here, and he is the one that, is all knowing and knows how all this stuff's going to play out.
meant to go that direction?
At some point, yeah.
Well, then you should have said, hey, this is a 99% chance that we're gonna have trouble with this soil.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's all we were asking.
Well,
Could this potentially be good, or do we have to billow sand?
I think we sensed that we shouldn't take it lightly, and I don't think we did. I mean, we only discussed the matter with the trouble once, and I thought we cut it off and did well, and now that problem is kind of causing its own trouble for itself.
Right. But there's other things in the project where when I'm going back over it, right, that I could have easily done or been inspired to do to avoid a lot of the issues that are going to come up with that.
Yeah.
That we weren't made aware of. So you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. I
So
do.
it was meant to go this way, you think, is what I'm saying.
I do. It's terrible.
What else are you supposed to say when the plan starts going sideways, right? Is, oh, it's meant to go this way. I mean, I guess it was meant to go this way, probably not for the reason that he was thinking it's meant to go this way. But when you start making predictions and plans and stuff like he's doing, you have to work any detail that happens into this plan that you're a prophet and you're predicting. And that's exactly what's happening. And that's exactly what the state's trying to prove is he is trying to make a plan happen that ends with exactly what he and Lori Vallow want to be the ending. And because he's maybe even the one stringing her along, not the other way around. Again, that's what the state's trying to prove in this case, probably, is he's got to make it seem like, yeah, what's happening to you and going to prison and happening to your kids and everything, all this has to happen. It's part of the plan. It's part of this conspiracy. that the state's trying to prove. And they're getting at least some of it with their own words. The question for you all that I want to hear in the comments are these types of conversations, cryptic as they may be, enough to connect the dots for the conspiracy to you, along with all the other evidence, of course. But we're actually hearing a lot from Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow here in this call.
Minor changes here and there, but overall, this was part of the blueprint. I mean, just,
What?
oh, I just wish it hadn't been. But I'm thinking of previous blueprints where the people weren't warned either. Just happening.
The previous blueprints where people weren't warned either, it's sounding less and less like a construction project.
Ray's in that contractor position for a reason, and he's not gonna drop us for another project.
He was put in that contractor position for a reason. He's not going to drop us for another project. Are they talking about Alex Cox doing a certain criminal deed for them? Or are they talking about somebody building a house for them named Ray?
Well, can't he like forcibly use a hand, punch some people in the face and get some things done?
And again, could she just be joking? And do people say stuff like that in conversations? Sure. But hindsight being 2020 and this jury knowing what happened and this jury hearing the rest of the context, what do you think they think about that comment? Can't he just hurry things along, punch people in the face?
Some people in particular, like the 3%er person?
3%er? Are they talking about a 3% chance of something going wrong or a dark score? Or, these, when people think they're being smart, and we've seen this in other trials like the Adelsons and they talk in code, sometimes it becomes very obvious and then it's no longer working the way that you want it to.
I don't think he wants to be violent. But
Well, I'm not saying be violent. I'm saying get their attention.
He did. What he did was kind of mute her effect.
What he did is kind of mute her effect. He doesn't want to be violent. What do you think that means? I don't know if this judge would allow it, but I'd probably stop and highlight a couple more of these points if I was the prosecutor, but I'm sure the jury's listening.
Just kind of kept her in her place for quite a while, to the point it almost diffused any value of her.
Not talking about that.
They don't even know what
In
each
the
other's talking about.
beginnings, going back over the whole blueprint and all the things that we've been, I don't know what the word is. When you go through it. Anyway, a lot of that stuff could have been avoided.
Yeah.
Just minor tweaks.
Yes.
And I don't know why it had to go down this road to where we are now in the project.
I don't fully understand. I think he'd text you back or write you back.
Ultimately, what I need from you is that the project is going to be finished and everything is going to be fine and it's going to work out.
She needs certain assurances that this is all going to be okay. And who does she go to those for? Who does she ask those for? Chad Daybell, because this blueprint, which is also known as a plan, which is also known as something we need to follow and something we need to do together, and it's a project. This all sounds like conspiracy to me. What do you guys think? And we know Ray is Alex Cox, the contractor. They are the client, maybe, if we're going with their code language, all working together on something.
That's what he said.
Well, I need you to tell me that every day, several times.
Okay. My sweet, lovely Lola. Things are going to work out. Not just because he says so, but because I know so. It's a marvelous plan. It's like,
How do you know so?
He knows things are going to work out. It's a marvelous plan.
How do I know? It's been shown to me, honey. I've seen those beautiful eyes.
How does he know it's been shown to him? She's not manipulating him into saying this is all going to happen. All these things need to happen around for us to be able to get to the end and do what we want / think we need to do. This is pretty damning stuff. It sounds innocuous. It's not like I'm going to go in there and I'm going to bury them and do all the horrible stuff we know happened in this case. We skipped a lot of that evidence because we don't need to break it down. We know what happened there. But he's not saying stuff like that. But in the overarching cultish kind of talk and these cryptic conversations, I think tells you a lot more than the words that they're saying. It can be dangerous with the jury. Maybe they just say, no, it's not enough. But what do you guys think?
Filled with tears as she sings to amazing groups of people. And I've seen that wonderful body dance to heavenly songs.
Your Honor, I'm stopping at 2641. Detective, in that conversation, who is asking who for assurances?
Lori was asking Chad, and we found that throughout multiple phone calls. She would ask Chad for assurance.
And who said they had seen the plan?
The defendant, Chad Daybell.
Your Honor, I'm starting again at
So
2641.
he does confirm that with the officer. We're going to listen to just a couple more minutes of the call.
Their purpose is only beginning. It's hardly begun. And it will be the pair. It won't be solo. And it's going to be incredible.
Say cholo and not solo.
That's right. Yep. It will be the Eurythmics. No solo careers. I'm just absolutely sure. I was saying it will be the Eurythmics. It won't be 2 solo careers.
I know, but I'm saying you said you have absolute what? Confidence?
Absolute assurity, confidence.
He has absolute assurity and confidence. That's manipulative.
Confirmation. It's going to be as seen. There's some things that aren't going to be altered. Your value is tremendous, immense, and needed in every way. You're tremendous, my love. I know that is a fact. I think you underestimate yourself. I'm not trying to give you a big head or ego because you don't have one. You just are spectacular, and the Lord is going to use those talents.
I know you probably have to hold your vomit in, but what I want to point out about that evidence is we have heard other people in Chad Daybell's family and friend group and connected to him that describe his manipulation in this exact way. You're going to be used. You're so powerful. You're so great, and talking people up in order to use them or manipulate them. Guess what? It's one thing to hear somebody testify about it for these jurors. It's another thing to hear Chad Daybell do it on a call.
You're on earth at this time for that purpose. I'll try to call you back so we can pray. Okay.
So that is the end of the phone call that we're going to listen to today. And I really want to know what you thought about that. I also want to know what you think about the other evidence that's been presented in the case, even maybe some we have hit on videos and some we haven't. What do you think is the most damning evidence for Chad Daybell so far in the conspiracy charge? Remember, conspiracy is a little bit different than just a first-degree murder charge that somebody is accused of doing something specifically ending somebody's life. Now we are going to jump to day 25 for Chad Daybell, where they went through a ton of text messages. And instead of listening to them kind of read all of them, I am going to skip through, read some of them to you just so you can get the gist. I'll read as many as I have time for, probably 5 or 10 minutes worth. And so you can get the gist, again, of the text conversations between Lori, Chad, Alex, about their conspiracy, how they're working together, specifically how involved the kids. It's eerie. It's damning. And to me, the state is really starting to hammer this case home as the trial continues. Day 25. So I think we're, in the second half of this trial, and the hits just keep on coming for Chad Daybell. The first one is from Lori Vallow to Alex Cox. I'm finding out some great stuff about you. I'm going to do some ceilings. Can't wait to share all the things I learned about you. Wow, you're going to like it. It explains a lot. And then from Alex Cox to Lori Vallow, okay, hurry up, please. Then from Vallow to Cox, going to check everything with my source tonight and make sure I got all this stuff right, but it's really good. We can talk about it tomorrow. Then the next text chain that pops up from Chad Daybell to Lori Vallow, I have been instructed to focus my efforts on Hillary. And who is Hillary? That is Tylee, according to this witness. Okay, find out her percentage for me and JJ's, which also gives us an idea that this is Tylee that they are talking about, because she would be coupled with JJ, obviously, in some of these conversations. She is at a 0.13. I turned up the pain to 10 and placed a spiritual virus on her. He is at 99.99. Raphael visited him and told him to follow Amy into the light. I also assured him that James would love and take care of his mommy, which he will with all of his heart and soul. That is sweet. I miss you desperately. So very weird, very culty, and, you know, making stuff up. We're getting more and more like that as we read these texts and hear some of these, you know, weird conversations between Vallow, Daybell, and Cox. And obviously, we hear specifically referenced the kids and them doing things to the kids and sending viruses on them and saying that they are, you know, possessed, in the same kind of language that they've talked about a lot of people that ended up dead. I'll skip ahead to the next. From Chad Daybell, Lori Vallow, you are so adorable, beautiful, wonderful, heavenly, luscious, and angelic. So many divine attributes rolled into one dynamic, desirable package. I want you even more desperately than you want me. Chad to Lori, just grab me by the storm and I'll follow you to the ends of the earth. Okay. When might that be? Wednesday evening, and then repeatedly and gloriously until Friday. Okay, get to the next one. I mean, these text messages we've heard about, we've read through some of them before, but just this is the first time the jury is seeing these. And then what? Back to crying and saying goodbye, back to the box. I think that's referencing the Harry Potter and the, you know, thing under the stairs where he feels like he had to live when he's with Tammy and his family. This trip to Utah had a lot of finality to it. I was told extreme changes are coming for me and to Utah. I welcome them both. That's Chad to Lori. What's Blake's percentage? Lori to Chad. Again, always asking Chad for the percentages, not the other way around. He drew 3 crosses on the wall in his bedroom. We just finished painting over them like he was marking it for the dark side to find him. Blake is at a 7. See, I took my sword of light and sliced his aura vertically in several places. You should be able to now rip and burn it. That was from Chad to Lori. Again, it's like this guy's the white knight of his story. I also decreased his pain tolerance to a 1 and greatly increased his pain. His desire to depart is at 80%. Again, if you believe this stuff is real, and I mean, I believe there's a spiritual war and maybe there's stuff happening there with the fighting and, you know, whatever that stuff may be happening. I don't know. I haven't seen it. Hard for me to, you know, define it. If you believe it to this level, okay. Chad Daybell clearly does and believes he has control over it. And I think that's what led to the deaths of a lot of family members and people around him. And if the jury feels that way, then this is pointing them in that direction. So everybody believes differently about the world and spirits and higher beings and religion and God and angels. And I get that. And regardless of what we believe about that, this story and the way this is described, it doesn't add up in any other way but to say Lori and Chad wanted the ending they wanted, and they did what it took to get there. Especially Chad. I mean, he's the one with these dark percentages and pain tolerances and upping and lowering and sending viruses. He's the one doing that, not Lori. Lori to Chad. Good morning. Missing you. Didn't sleep much. Need you to check if weird stuff happened in the middle of the night. It's like they distracted us with Blake. When you get home, check Tylee. She is being super sweet and helpful and she cleaned her room. She is great, got switched, totally not her. So again, maybe Lori trying to save Tylee from whatever Chad is saying is wrong with her, but really believing whatever Chad is preaching, literally. I mean, that's what some of these say. See if she got switched. Yes, she was switched. Please let me know when you can talk. I will explain it. So it's like, confirmation bias, basically. And there's tons of these. We're just going to read a few, like I said. How are things at home? She's fine. Need to check JJ. She said he was calm and he watched movies all day, which he would never do. Missing you. Missing you too. It is still JJ. I'm told she is lying about him being calm and watching movies. Mel knew. She called me. She felt the real Brighton last night and knew she was different. She was told I didn't want to tell her. She is taking well and knowing it is part of the big plan. She is amazing, although I'm still pretty upset over it. I love you, trying to hang in there, missing your kisses. And again, Melanie being involved in this. But again, Chad Daybell is the one pulling the strings, is what it really feels like throughout all these texts. One question: do you want me to cause pain yet to those 2 3s you're riding with? Probably hold off on that till we arrive. They will be mistake to deal with, but I'll text you if they start acting up and we can zap them. Miserable, not mistake. Sounds great. Yes, if they're going to act up, we'll at least give them reason to scream. I love and treasure and cherish you and adore you. I got the inspiration to go back to my original death percentages. That helped us track Charles, Ned, etc. Tammy is very close. Her percentage has fallen steadily since Hiplos left. It is encouraging. What is the percentage now? What about JJ's 2? Tammy is a 3, JJ's a 2. Both are being heavily shielded to top intruders. I mean, it all lines up. It can't be a coincidence. He can't be making the calls on these people and then them ending up dead, and you think he has nothing to do with it. I just don't see how a jury would ever find that. 2 and 3%, not 0. I'll explain when we talk. Okay, still feeling hot for you. So in the mix of all this, it was almost, it is a little bit kinky, I think, for them. I think this whole story and this persona and how all this is working out is exactly how they want it to. And it's basically puffing each other up, and, it's their form of like sexting and foreplay. That's really what it feels like. And again, money, sex, and power. That's what this case is about. We might need to release a little steam when we talk. Gross. Anyway, this is the chart that checks what percentages mortals are still in their body. It worked for my friend's wife who died, my neighbor George Bush, Stan Lee, etc. I kind of forgot about it because we've been dealing with zombies and demonic entities. But this afternoon, Tammy said she felt lightheaded, and if her body and spirit weren't connected, as if her body and spirit weren't connected. I will update the list and figure out Brandon, Adam, and others. All these people we've heard have had attempts on their life or passed away, are all getting the Chad Daybell kiss of death, basically. I mean, that's really what it feels like. It all lines up so perfectly with the state's theory and story. I can't read those. I love you. Taking Breezy home. I will check on her. She is asleep. She put a bunch of holes in the walls and doors. Definitely had demons helping her. Probably 1,000. Mel wants to come up there tomorrow, but I said next Thursday to Sunday. What do you think? We are both so tired of taking care of demons. We are weary. Please ask the Lord to take them. And again, Melanie is mentioned a lot in this. So her testimony, I'm sure the jury's going to think back to. Please check JJ. He just woke up saying crazy stuff. JJ is still JJ. I am told his spirit recognizes Blake as evil and unsettled by him. Hi, my love. How is JJ now? He's better. He was just up talking nonsense for like 2 hours last night. We know JJ was dealing with a lot of things too. And for them to try to call these demons to use them and then eventually ending his life is just horrible and despicable and nothing any child should go through, regardless of what they're dealing with and physically and mentally what is going on with them. Yes, he's at 0. He probably was partly through the night talking to people, both light and dark. Maybe he was talking to the real Blake. Yes, that was the real Blake. Again, just kind of confirming what each other's saying. I feel lost, like I should be doing something to help. There's a plan being orchestrated for the children. I was shown last night how it fit together, but it has been taken from my mind, of course. So it's like he would be told stuff and then forgot stuff. And there's a plan for the children. Again, in the calls, there was a construction plan, a blueprint, the contractor doing things. Do you think there's an orchestrated plan, a perfectly orchestrated plan for the children? And we have to wait for it to be carried out. What should I be doing? You are doing everything right. It actually feels good that JJ was talking to the real Blake, getting close. You're so incredible in many ways. As long as it ends with you, it's all good. Not anybody else, not JJ, not Tylee, not Tammy, as long as it ends with you. Yes, cheek to cheek, loin to loin. It's very far, or it isn't very far away, my love. And these are in October of 2019. And we know what happens right after all this. Wish I could see you and be cheek to cheek. Literally can't wait. I wish I could see you cheek to cheek, loin to loin. Seriously can't wait. They just repeated these and then they go on break. And that's where we'll kind of take a pause and stop our reading of the text messages today and send you out with this. Their own words together, their own words being used against them. Certainly seems like Chad is driving this bus. It certainly seems like he's the one everybody goes to for questions and answers. He puts the death percentages on people. He says when it's close. He knows when it's going to end. He has shown the perfectly orchestrated plan. Not really anybody else. He's involving Lori Vallow. He's involving Alex Cox. It's really sad and wild story, but feels pretty confident that the state is building their case. What's up, everybody? Literally everybody's emailing me and calling me about what's going on in the Chad Daybell case. A mistake made by the prosecution. The death date of JJ Vallow is wrong on the charging document. I've had some people actually call me and email me that are in the courtroom, in the courthouse, watching the case with some people involved. They told me that it was a Scrivener's error, that on one of the edits of the charging document, the state accidentally changed the date, didn't mean to, and that during the JOA arguments or the arguments made by John Pryor, Chad Daybell's attorney, he didn't even bring it up, but the judge brought it up and said this death date is wrong, and it was after the state had rested their case in chief. So what happens now? There are a couple different scenarios. One is that the case could get thrown out. The JOA could get granted. And the charge, the individual charge against JJ could go away, but usually only if the defense has made the death date one of their big arguments, meaning he wasn't there on that day or the victim was still alive past that day and the state was using it as one of their big arguments. Doesn't seem like that was something that happened here, so much so that John Pryor didn't even notice that the date was wrong and the judge had to point it out. So it doesn't seem like there's going to be any major prejudice. This has actually happened to us in some cases, and the judge in all of our scenarios and in most of the scenarios, they will just let the case let the state reopen the case, fix the Scrivener's error, change the date, and just keep moving forward if it doesn't prejudice the defendant enough. So that is option number 2 that can happen. Option number 3 is we can have an argument, we can have a hearing, the judge can hear arguments from both sides and ultimately make a decision only on JJ's case. It doesn't mean all the charges are going to go away. It doesn't mean Chad Daybell is going to walk away scot-free. The other charges against Tylee and Tammy will still go forward. It doesn't seem like there are any issues there from what I'm hearing from people in the courtroom. Again, I haven't watched this or read this myself, but this is the question everybody has. If the death date is wrong and the state has rested their case in chief, is it over? Do they lose? Does Chad Daybell win as far as it's concerned with JJ? And the answer is not necessarily. So it depends on what the judge decides. It's within the judge's discretion. I would expect the judge to allow the state to fix their Scrivener's error if they find that it wasn't prejudicial enough to the defendant. And if the state was allowed to, after acquitting the defendant, change the date, bring the case again, try the case again, and nothing would really change, then how much does it really prejudice the defendant? So that's a question for the judge. We'll keep an eye and ear out. Let me know what your questions are in the comments below. Hit the like button if you haven't already, and make sure you subscribe to our page. That's all I got for this one. Till next time, I'm out of here. Thanks for watching another episode of The Lawyer You Know. If you enjoyed the episode, please hit the thumbs up and share with your friends who may be interested here on YouTube. And don't forget to subscribe. You can also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok. And don't forget to check out the Lawyer You Know podcast with new seasons dropping every quarter. If you have a page you want to talk to us about, if it's a personal injury case, wrongful death, catastrophic injury, car accident, or slip and fall case, please email us at lawyeryouknow@gmail.com. And of course, all these links I just mentioned are included in the description below on this episode and every episode So until next time, this is Peter Tragos, the lawyer you know.